Welcome everybody! Happy May Day! This May Day Quote Festival is being sponsored by the Passaic County Cultural and Heritage Council, and they are also sponsoring something new that we're going to be announcing that includes a film, and Evelyn is going to be telling you about that. This is very, very exciting. We hope you all subscribe to this.
Everyone is welcome, first come, first served basis, to view a new film by Mark Street entitled Work Songs. And you access it via the museum's website. Work Songs is a documentary. Through interviews and observational footage, Work Songs explores how various workers find meaning in their jobs. The gig economy, automatization, the power of unions are explored in planned and spontaneous interviews. And throughout the film is labor songs, music that you'll hear in the background. Mark Street will be joining us via Zoom to discuss his film 2 weeks after today on May 15th. And anyone is welcome to join that conversation, to listen to him, and for Q&A. And this opportunity to view Work Songs, to join in the Zoom conversation with the filmmaker is in part funded by a grant from the Passaic County Cultural and Heritage Council through a grant from the New Jersey Council on the Arts. So we'll hope you will view. Visit www.labormuseum.net to access the film.
There's 75, yes. Another thing I want to announce today is, since January of 2020, we have been working with a historian, an editor, an illustrator, and Evelyn and I to create a children's book. The 1913 Patterson Silk Stripe Fit Children's Story. And today, May 1st, 2021, we received our copyright for this book. And we're hoping to get 30,000 copies distributed to 4th grade students throughout the state of New Jersey and to libraries as well. So we've submitted a grant, and we'll keep you posted as to the status of that when we hear in July. So let's put our hands together, brothers and sisters, and let's give a nice warm welcome to George Mann and Podber.
Well, I know most of you, so it's good to be here. It's last year was the first year in 21 years I hadn't been here on May Day. But this was the very first time I was here with Julius Margolin in 1999. And it's right on that back wall. Oh, wow. Now, Julius, hello folks, I don't know if you ever heard of Julius Margolin, but he was a living legend in the labor movement in New York City. And he was the oldest member of the Central Labor Council. He passed away in 2009, at 93. Yes. That's the very first time we ever played here. I know, because I didn't have a Martin yet. Yeah. Oh, I had a job too. So it was very sad last year that we had to cancel. But I'm glad you all came out today. And we get to celebrate May Day, the workers' holiday, and of course the events of Patterson Silk Strike, the IWW, Industrial Workers of the World. We always start with this song, Joe Hill's great song, The Preacher and the Slave. Then we get to the chorus, sung Baptist style. If you know the words, follow. If you don't know the words, follow anyway. Long-haired preachers run out in the night, try to tell you what's wrong and what's right. Go and ask how about something to eat. They will answer in voices so sweet. Sing along. You will eat by and by in that glorious land of the sky. Way up high, work and pray, live on hay. Y'all get pie in the sky when you die. Well, the Starvation Army, they play, and they sing and they clap and they pray till they got all your working, hey. Come on, hey, come on, hey. Don't get by in the sky when you die. That's why work hard for children and wife. Gotta get something good in this life. You're a sinner and a bad man, they tell. When you die, you will sure go to hell. You will leave by and by in that glorious land from the sky. Work and pray, come on, hey. Don't get by in the sky when you die. Take Howard. Working folks of all countries unite. Side by side we for freedom will fight. When this world and its wealth we have gained, to the crafters we'll sing this refrain. One more time. You will eat, by and by. Learn how to cook, how to fry. How to fry, chop some wood. It'll do you good, do you good. I know in that sweet by and by, that's no lie. Well, thank you. We've been going 1,000 years. I like it. Well, thank you. So Joe Hill, of course, one of the great the great wobbly songwriter. Among all the wobbly songwriters, the best known and personal favorite of mine, of course. I was very honored, I guess, to be part of the 2015 Joe Hill 100 celebrations that ran all over the country and organized the tour. We even brought Magpie and Charlie King here that year for the May Day Festival to celebrate Joe's work, 100th anniversary of his execution in 2015. And this song is another one of the great wobbly songs from the Little Red Songbook. Unfortunately, we don't know who wrote the words because it first appeared in the 1919 edition of the Little Red Songbook. And it said the words were written by an unknown proletarian. I don't have the red one. I thought I did. Oh well, hey, I do. Talk about organizing genius, right? The IWW knew that if you gave people little songbooks, they'd remember the words, they could take them to the rallies, they could sing them along. And these are always wonderful educational tools, organizational tools. And of course they help people who weren't Native American speakers learn the language and be able to sing the songs. This song is called We Have Fed You All for 1,000 Years. 1, 2, 3. Still unfair. Though there's never a dollar of all your wealth that is dead. We have yielded our best to give you rest, and you lie on crimson wool. Let blood be the price of all your wealth. God, we have paid it in full. There's never a mind blown skyward now. We're buried alive for you. There's never a wreck you sure would count, but we are its ghastly crew. We're wrecking our dead by the forges red, the factories where we spin. But if blood be the price of your lawful wealth, God, you have paid it in. We have yielded our best to give you rest, and you lie on crimson wool. But if blood be the price of all your wealth, for God we have traded in full. We have fed you all for 1,000 years, that was our due, you know. The day when you chained us in your fields, the strife of a week ago. You're taking our lives and our babies and wives, told it's your legal share. But if blood be the price of your lawful wealth, God we have bought it fair. Yeah, if blood be the price of your lawful wealth, God we have bought it fair. Well, for me, it's been 2 years since we were here. Last year, of course, we were scrambling. Everybody was scrambling what to do once things shut down. For me, I live in Ithaca now. You know, many of you know I used to live just 15 minutes away in New York City. It's a bit of a drive now to come down, but a beautiful day to drive this morning. And boy, when things shut down, I lost most of my work. I've seen for about 50 nursing and veterans homes in upstate New York, and I'm not touring. And I was normally touring only about 2 to 3 months a year, but tour to Oregon last summer got canceled. 4-week tour to Australia got canceled in October. And I'm supposed to be going back there in October this year, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen either, because there's still a quarantining to get in the country, 14 days, and you have to pay for a hotel room. And no folks even can afford that. So unless that changes, I won't be going there in October. But we were in the middle of recording a new record. My musicians meet up in Ithaca, called the Coronavirus Sessions, is what it ultimately became called, because they shut down the studio for 4 months because of the protocols, the law. Business had to shut down. And we were finally able to reopen in July the studio in Ithaca where I record. It's an old church called Wilburland, a beautiful old church built in 1908. And that's one of the reasons I left New York City for Ithaca 10 years ago. When we finally came back and started recording, well, I had 4 months off in the middle. And this is the first song I wrote. When it started up again. It's called Song in My Heart. By then we were 4 months into the pandemic here, and I was as miserable as all of you, I'm sure. And realizing if you wake up every day miserable, you're going to go through the day miserable. But if you wake up with a song in your heart, you might have a better day. So the song goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out through the wire and I hear it as you speak. See it in your lonely eyes, how the lonely weep. Even though it's all gone, I'll smile at you again. Every moment on the screen looks by like the summer rain. I can see your sparkle there and you still got some fight. And as I read my grievances, you say I'll be alright. That reassures me, so today I'm gonna start with a song in my head, with a song in my heart, with a song in my head, with a song in my heart. How can we make music when we're so far apart? Got a song in my head, a song in my heart. Now I'm not complaining, now I'm better clean and warm. Can't stop this hunger for the warmth within your arms. And I don't know when I'll be back, when I'll be this year. Sing along with me today, we'll wipe away those tears. Well, I can see your sparkle there and you still got some fight. As I my grievances, you say I'll be alright. You know it reassures me, so today I'm gonna start with a song in my head and a song in my heart. Sing that with me. With a song in my head and a song in my heart. How can we make music when we're so far apart? Got a song in my head, a song in my heart. Got a song in my head, a song in my heart. Got a song in my head, a song in my heart. Got a song in my head and a song in my heart. Well, thank you. Now we're going to do another old classic labor song that we've always, just about every concert we've been here, we've sung this, because this is again one of those staples of labor music that goes back, now almost 80, 90 years now. Written by a woman named Florence Reese in the early 30s when she and her husband Sam were involved with the mine workers down in bloody Harlan County. 40 years later they made a movie about it, the strike in the 60s, or late 60s, right? Barbara Koppel's film. But Harlan County, USA. But back in the 30s when you were organizing, you know, it was much more likely you get your ass kicked, right? Or killed. And so one night there was rumors that their thugs were coming to get her husband Sam so he could get out of town because he wanted to keep living. And the thugs came to the door, they banged on the door and they started breaking in. She tried to stop him, Florence. She said, "No, he's gone. He heard you were coming. He's not here." But they broke in the door anyway. And they you know, checked around the whole house. They looked in the closets, under the beds, trashed the place basically, looking for him, making sure he wasn't hiding somewhere. And then basically told her, "You tell him we'll be back." And in her anger, Florence Reese grabbed a page off the calendar on the wall and sat down right there at the kitchen table and she wrote the words to the song, which is now, of course, one of our immortal labor classics. And a good question to ask anybody in any struggle: which side are you? Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to well. Which side are you on? 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 My daddy was a miner, now he's in the air and sun. And he'll stick with the Union till every battle's won. Sing along. Which side are you on? 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 Let's say in Northern County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or love for J.H. Land. Which side are you on? 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 Check it out. Can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a lousy scab? Will you be a man? Which side are you on? 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 Don't scabble the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. One more time. Which side are you on? 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 Tell me, which side are you on? 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 Well, now we'd like to bring Angelica up to say a few words about a very special friend of ours. And we're going to do a song in honor of our dear friend, Anne, who passed away February 3rd.
Before we do that, may I just plug this for you?
If you want to, yes. Thank you.
You know, the song that we sang together, a
Song of the
in my heart. Yeah, sung in my head. Yeah. I love the song so much. I bought several of these CDs and sent them to my friends. It's an excellent, excellent compilation of songs, and just they're uplifting during the pandemic. And I highly recommend that you purchase it for yourself, and I'm sure you'll get one for a friend as well. That was an example of the feel-good music that this album has. And for those of you who know the history of the 1913 Patterson Silk Strike, you know that we had a female labor leader by the name of Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, the rebel girl, and she spoke from the balcony of the Botto House to over 20,000 people assembled outside. Well, the Botto House had another rebel girl, and her name was Anne Feeney. Anne Feeney would come to our May Day festival and sing every year. One Labor Day she even came and she sang from the balcony. And it was such a privilege to have her here. I always felt like it was an honor because she was world-renowned. Anne's voice, her music just touched everyone's hearts. When she passed away, they had a memorial, a virtual memorial that I attended, as well as George and many others. And I learned that Anne Feeney was a lawyer. And she gave up her profession to become an activist. We all know how lucrative the lawyer's profession is compared to that of an activist. But she didn't care. It was in her heart, like your music. It was in her heart to help other people all over the world. So today, on May Day, we learned that Anne will be buried next to Mother Jones. Yeah.
Minor cemetery.
And may be happening at this very moment. And you know, I do believe that butterflies are reincarnated relatives and friends, and there's been a white butterfly around this garden today, and I'm like thinking it's Anne. So how about we sing that song that she composed and she sang?
Sure.
She was also the most wonderful, sweetest, nicest person.
She
you
was
ever wanted to meet.
beautiful inside
Unless she
and
was
out.
talking about the bosses and the companies.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
That's right.
She had a wit,
she
and
had
a
fire
tongue.
in her belly when it came to that.
Well, thank you, Angelica. And Anne was a dear friend. I met her in 1997 and sang with her many times, not just here at the Botto House, but in many different settings, Western workers, they the arts exchange in Shelter. And of course, the School of the Americas protest that Anne was part of for many, many years. She got cancer in 2010. She fought it off, and they gave her only 6 months to live, and she lived another 10 years. So when she passed, I just thought about this the other day. She died on February 3rd, and all the tributes to Anne, nobody remembered what February 3rd signified. It's the day the music died. February 3rd is the day that Buddy Holland's plane crashed. And that's the song, American Pie was written about, and Anne died on that very same day, February 3rd of this year. So her best known song,
I mean, just speaking of days, Anne and I had the same birthday. She was a year younger than me. July 1st. And I actually first met Ann. I was in a band years and years and years ago called the Delaware Water Gap String Band. And we used to play a lot down in Pittsburgh, where she was from. And like back around 1977, when she was young and I think still in law school, she would come down to our concerts. And she was like just so into the music and the traditions.
And before she was even performing herself.
But she was still a very political person, right? Then, and you could see the person that she was going to become. And I had the honor of accompanying her in an album once, with Chandler.
Yeah, that helped with Kiva. All right, well, her best-known song was recorded by Peter, Paul, and Mary, among others. It's called "Have You Been to Jail for Justice?" It's been sung on Pinion Lines now for 20 years or more, and it goes like this. Was it Caesar Chavez making the story today? Some say Dr. King or Gandhi set them on their way. No matter who your mentors are, it's pretty plain to see. You've been to jail for justice, you're in good company. Have you been to jail for justice? Washing your hands, busted, sitting in and lying down, ways to take a stand. Have you sung a song for freedom, or marched that picket line? Have you been to jail for justice? Oh, you're a friend of mine. Well, you law-abiding citizens, come listen to my song. Those laws were made by people, and people can be wrong. Once unions were against the law, and slavery was fine. Women were denied the vote, and children worked the mine. The more you study history, the less you can deny it. A lot of law says on the books till folks with guts defy it. Have you been to jail for justice? I won't shake your hand, 'cause sitting in and lying down always take a stand. Have you sung a song for freedom, or marched that picket line? Have you been to jail for justice? You're a friend of mine. Now the law is supposed to serve us, and so are the police. But when the system fails, it's up to us to keep our peace. It takes eternal vigilance for justice to prevail. So get courage from your convictions, let them haul your ass to jail. Have you been to jail for justice? I want to shake your hand. 'Cause sitting in and lying down always take a stand. Have you sung a song for freedom, or marched that picket line? Have you been to jail for justice? Will you go to jail for justice? Have you been to jail for justice? Oh, you're a friend of mine. And Feeney presenting. Well, I'm going to sing you a song about Julius, because when we put the set together, I don't often use set lists, but in a formal setting like this with such an august audience, it's always important to know what's going to sing next. Come on in, hello. And Julius, of course, and Ann were good friends, were great friends together. And it was just a lot of fun to see them together, because she had such great love for Julius, and she knew that Julius was an elder and somebody who'd been through the Great Depression. He'd been through all the struggles of the CIO in the 30s. He'd been through World War II. He served in the Merchant Marine. He'd been through and survived the blacklist in the 50s, when he was blacklisted as a radical trade unionist for not only his activism but also his political beliefs. Well, this song is called The Ballad of Julie M. And I wrote this for Julius in 1998. Welcome. I wrote this for Julius in 1998 when we first started making records together on the very first album. And he would never let me sing this song in public. Because he said, "George, I don't want you to laud me. You can sing it after I'm dead." And in all the years we were together playing music, he only let me sing it once, because he had written a song about my plot of land upstate. And I said, "I don't like you singing that. I don't want people to know about my plot of land upstate." I was a socialist then, still am. But I said, "I'll make you a deal, Julius. any concert you want, I'll let you sing that song if you let me sing the Ballad of Juliet. They only let me do it once at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Stony Brook. So now that he's not here to stop me, I'm going to sing it. And I'm working on a new record that's going to be out this fall, and we recorded for this album. And it's called The Ballad of Juliet for Margaret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't think I like living in the city. Quiet house in the country would suit me fine. There's too many people fighting for time, and what's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine. I know a man who overcame all of that and more. Yeah, he looks like the mouse who squeaked, but you should hear him roar. And what's his is yours, and what's yours is his. That's just the way it is. Where are you when we need you, Juliet? You're here with us, and you'll be here till we win. It's never easy being seen on the wrong side, but the only side that's right is the one we're on. And there were many times they'd kick you around, but there ain't no one to keep a good man down. Where are you when we need you, Juliet? You're here with us, and you'll be here like you've always been. Where are you when we need you, Juliet? On every line, at every stroke that you can tell, just an ordinary soldier, Juliet. Now you're old, but still you're out there fighting. Holiest missionary for the cause. You say if God exists, then I'm surely dead, and it ain't no sin to be called a red. Where are you when we need you, Juliet? You're here with us, and you'll be here like you've always been. Where are you when we need you, Juliet? You're here with us, and you'll be here till the end of your life. And if there is heaven, Jules, I know they'll let you in, and you'll organize the angels, Juliet. Let's celebrate the future for all of us. This land is our land, and this land is a land in common, a land meant to be protected and preserved for all of us. And that's what Woody was talking about when he wrote this great song. Now there's a lot of verses, and I'm probably going to sing all of them. There might be a few you don't know, including the one about the churches, people starving by the church steeples, and the one about private property, right? The concept of private property. So if you know the words, please sing along. I hope you'll check out the music during the break. There's some food and snacks there, and then we'll get back to some music with Andrew.
At President Obama's first inauguration, Pete Seeger and Bruce Springsteen
sang this song.
All the verses.
With a 90-child chorus, and I was in the audience there. Let me get back.
Including
Cold January day.
Including the private property
Which is
verse,
what we're going to sing now.
Which even Harlow didn't sing.
Pete Seeger was a member of the museum, you know, and we honored him one year.
Wonderful. Ready? 1, 2, 3. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the redwood forest to the dusty waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw a morning in the skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. Everybody, this land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the redwood forest to dusty waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled upon my footsteps. Sparkling sands all down the deserts. And all around me, my voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Sing along. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the river forest to the ocean waters. This land was made for you and me. Lots of more go. In squares of the city, by the shadow of the steeple, by the relief office, I saw my people. I stood there hungry, I stood there wondering if this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the ocean waters. This land was made for you and me. There was a great big wall there that tried to stop me. There was a great big sign there said private property, but on the other side it didn't say nothing. And that side was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the dusty waters. This land was made for you and me. Take another break. Nobody out there can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the ocean waters. This land was made for you and me. From the redwood forest to the ocean waters. This land was made for you and me. Oh, this land was made for you and me. Mr.
Okay, so I think most of us know this very, very talented woman who's standing to my left, but I just wanted to give a little history. About 10 years ago, Annamaria's manager sent me a bio and asked if I would like to have her perform at the museum, and I said, I don't know if it's really appropriate. We always have labor songs, but then I reflected upon my own childhood. And my father was a painter. He was a baker. I mean, he was in the Bakers Union, and so we're talking working class upbringing. And I grew up on Caruso and Mario Lanza. I mean, so I thought, you know what? Working people love opera. So I called your manager, and here you are, 10 years later, Annamaria Stefanelli!
Thank you. Thank
you. So opera, and you know, I mentioned this last year, but I was really struck last year because I saw an article that the New York Times had written about Walt Whitman. And Walt Whitman was never interested in opera. But then he went to an opera and he looked around and he noticed that there were all kinds of people at the opera. There were very rich people and there were very poor people. And then he started listening to the music and he saw the power of the music to bring all the people together. And you know, when I was listening to George, I felt that same power of the music to bring people together. So he actually created his own operas in his verses, because many times he would view his poetry as music. So I just feel that this type of music is very easy to understand, even if you don't understand the words, because it's a very emotional thing, and people have always used it to inspire themselves. The immigrants that came over here, that was their way of connecting to their families and their friends, and the way that they inspired themselves. Plus, opera started to change, where opera wasn't just about, you know, the rich people. It was about the people who were struggling and were poor and what they were dealing with. And I'm going to sing an aria from one of those operas later on. But the first thing I would like to sing is something that everyone knows, and that many times when, especially the immigrants were struggling, they would use this song to inspire themselves, which is the Ave Maria, which is a very famous song. So I'm going to start with that. And thanks for this wonderful CD player. Ave So the next piece is a song by a Verdi opera. And Verdi was the great Italian composer who brought a nation together. He was called Papa Verdi. And he was at a time when Italy was disunited. It was taken over by a lot of countries, and the Italians were tired, and they wanted to come together. And they came together in opera. His operas always had people coming together and singing together. And one of the things about his operas were he would have these choruses of people in united song, either wanting to go home or helping other people. So this particular aria is from an opera where, unfortunately, the daughter and her lover, who wanted to get married, they're trying to get away, and the father finds them, and he gets accidentally killed by her lover. And so they run away to escape, and she feels terrible about this. She feels horrible, and there's all this guilt, and her brother is trying to find them because he wants to make them pay. So she goes to a monastery, and she asks the father if she can stay there and isolate herself to do penitence, and he says yes. And so what happens is Verdi sets it up so that the father and the monks sing to her as she's singing, that the Virgin Mary will protect her, and she's going to go and she's going to now do penitence for this. But the main thing about this music is the voices in the background carrying her forward as she goes to do penitence. So this is called La Vergine degli Angeli, which is the Virgin of the Angels, which is very common in Italy. When you were in trouble, you would ask the Virgin Mary for help, which I'm sure many of these people here, when they were fighting, were doing. One of the things about Italian opera is the voice, the human voice. I think that's why Italian opera is so popular, because there are a lot of different operatic forms, but Italian opera is about the human voice and the human condition, and melody is very important in Italian opera. Now, as you get further in, the modern stuff, it gets a little crazy, but generally that's what Italian opera is about. It's about the voice. So now, as time goes by, past Verdi's time, we start to get a rawness to the human life. People start to realize that it's about more than just, everything being pretty and nice, that people are suffering. So they have this new style called verismo, which is real. Vero in Italian is real, right? And Puccini is part of the verismo, okay? So the famous first verismo opera that got a lot of acclaim was Cavalleria Rusticana, which is about a town in Sicily, and the girl who's in love with this guy, unfortunately, she becomes pregnant. And the guy actually starts going back to this woman that he used to go with before he went to the war. And unfortunately, this girl that he used to go with is now married to the head of the village, and this guy's pretty powerful. Well, he still wants this woman, and now this girl has this baby in her, and she doesn't know what to do, so she goes to the mother, and she tells her what's going on. So now you'll hear the difference between this piece and the other one, because this has a lot of the humanity that the verismo writers were trying to convey. So a very different type of aria.
Forse di cielo
program with something that I'm sure was sung here many times because it's a Neapolitan song. And the Neapolitan music is a music of the soul. As a matter of fact, in opera was very, aristocratic, but the Neapolitan opera brought the music of the people to opera. And it started to become very, very popular. And as a matter of fact, there's a famous opera called La Serva Padrona by Pergolesi that traveled across Italy to France, where they were also doing everything very, aristocratically. And it made such an impact on the country that they started looking at how to make the music come together, like more to show the emotions and the people and all this other stuff. So the Neapolitan music is the music of the soul. So this is a Neapolitan song, and this is so typical of Neapolitans. They're talking to the mayor of Sorrento. This is Torna Sorrento, but what are they doing? It sounds like a love song, but what they were actually doing was they were asking the prime minister who was visiting Sorrento to come back because the city was in shambles and it needed to be restored, and it needed to, and so that's what the song is actually about. So anyway, I'm going to sing Torna Sorrento.
Del mare quando è bella, spiratando sentimento, come il tuo che ti rammenta, casciatate fai suonare. Guarda qua chi sto giardino, si sciura arancia, no profuma così fina, perché dita se ne va. E tu dici un porto addio, tu lontana da sto cuore, da sta dell'amore, tieni a cuore e non la sa. Ma non me la sa, non dorme sta dormiendo, torna sorriendo, forma campo.
I have to say, Anna Maria, you really got me on that last one.
Yeah.
Because my grandmother used to sing that. I used to play the piano, and she used to sit to the right of the piano, and she would sing that. So it really, really touched me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. I didn't really. Now I'm on tape crying with a red nose, probably. Thank you all for coming to our May Day festival, in quotes. And please join us every year. And we do change our exhibits here, and we have a free public library. We have videotapes, if you still listen, look at those audio tapes, and our store, and just so many different programs throughout the course of the year. So you're all welcome to join us either virtually or on site. And thank you for coming once again.